Sup? This is Alex Chu coming at you with another episode. This episode, I want to talk about pedophilia, about my experience with Dateline uh, pedophile stuff. Okay, I'm not. But before I talk about that, I want to tell you my name is Alex Chu. I'm the guy who invented physical mortality rings. These are rings that you put on your small finger, string sleepy. You wear them, you don't age anymore. You become physically immortal. For example, I'm already 50. I still look pretty young, right? See, if I shave, I don't need to have a beard. You know why a lot of 50-year-old men, they grow a little bit of beard. You know why? It's because they want to cover up their puffy faces, right? I don't need that. See, I don't have a puffy face. See, my face is still pretty thin, right? If you look at my belly, it's still really, really smooth and thin. 28-inch waist, ever since I was 19 years old. It's been like this for 30 some years. Never changed. If you go to my website, livemuchlonger.com, I have lots of testimonials from Amazon customers. Most of them give me 4 stars or 5 stars. Okay, so if you want to stay physically young forever, you want to look like me when you're 50, livemuchlonger.com. Livemuchlonger.com. Link is at the bottom of this video. Okay. Um. You see, I know people were wondering how come you used to talk about politics. How come now you're talking about pedophiles and incest porn and all that shit? It's just that I guess because Biden is just way too boring. See, when Trump was the president, oh, I talk about politics all the way. But now Trump is not in the White House anymore, and Biden is just so boring. Biden and his little Camilla Harris, they are so boring. They don't do anything. They just open up the border, and now Biden is talking about, oh, we have to we should not check IDs when we have an election, when they go to the voting booths, no IDs. So fuck that. I don't want to talk about him anymore. So let's talk about touchy subjects. I can gain more clicks. By talking about pedophiles and incest porn, all sorts of weird shit. People like to hear weird things, right? You know, recently, that guy, Chris Hansen from Dateline NBC, uh, he was the police was looking for him. They had a warrant for his arrest, just like what, a week ago or something. And then he turned himself in, but he later declared that it was not a big deal. They were just they he was late. I mean, he didn't show up at the court because of misunderstanding. He is supposed to submit like evidence against some pedophiles that they had a sting operation of 3 pedophiles in the past, and he is supposed to submit evidence. So it's not a big deal. But thinking about Chris Hansen, I tell you, man, hey, you know what? I actually met that guy before. I actually met Chris Hansen. It was on a reality TV show. Okay, what happened is, I they told me to. I drove a long way to that reality TV show. They told me to, take off my clothes, become naked, and I have to walk into the building, and then but I was supposed to meet a girl, but then suddenly Chris Hansen showed up, told me to just sit right there, told me to sit down. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. No, I never met him before. I never met Chris Hansen. But today's subject, I want to talk about Dateline NBC. To catch a predator, right? Um, yeah, but you know what? They try to contact me though. They try to lure me to that sting. They try once, okay. What happened is, back in the days, okay, I was sort of on TV, sort of halfway on TV. I was working with Martin Sargent. He used to host a show called Unscrewed, Unscrewed, on Tech TV. It's a small TV station. Nowadays, all these small TV stations, they went bankrupt because of internet, because of YouTube, because of Facebook. Nowadays, nobody watch those small cable TVs. But back in the days, there's a small cable TV network called Tech TV. And Martin Sargent was a host on that TV channel. Called Unscrewed. And I was working with him. I appeared on his show several times. I don't know, 7 or 8 times or something. He and I, we pretty good. We buddies. And but you understand he's like his show is supposed to be like funny, it has to be funny, it's supposed to make people laugh. And I understand if I'm funnier, I would appear on his show more. You understand? If I'm funnier, he would invite me to his show a lot more. And I was also being interviewed by other like radio stations and shit. I was also on several different small TV shows, and so I try to be funny, right? And I don't know. It's like I saw that Jay Leno's show, the Tonight Show. He had like few people. For example, I think his name is Gary Gilroy, right? The guy who Affleck, the guy who talked like, "Hey, hello, Jay." That guy. He has this weird voice. And then he also had another sidekick. Jay Leno had another comedian that goes on the show from time to time. He's always drinking. He's like an alcoholic. He's always holding a bottle or a shot glass. He's always drinking. That's his gig, right? Right? And then I was thinking, oh, I should get a gig too. So my gig is like, hey, you know what? I really like Disney Channel's Lizzie McGuire show, or these. I like kids show back in the days. I just like his show too. I think it's because I'm Asian, American adult shows, they are too sexually oriented. I don't like that. I'm Asian, See, I didn't grow up in this country. I grew up in Taiwan, So I don't like American sexual stuff, So I like kids show. So I was thinking, hey, maybe I could, I don't know, because I was watching Lizzie McGuire when I was 30 years old, So I was thinking maybe I should tell people I'm a pedophile, Just this is like a gig, you understand? It's not serious. I'm not a real pedophile. I should tell people I'm a pedophile. It's just a gig, just for laughs, It's like a comedian's gig, So on Martin Sargent's show, many of his episodes, I was making pedophile jokes, I said, "Oh, I like that girl because she looks, I like that girl. She's 18, but she looks 13, stuff like that." It was just try to portray myself as a pedophile. It was just a joke, But you know what? The people, the try to catch a predator people, right? They took me seriously, man. The Chris Hansen was working with this perverted justice group, and they took me seriously. They thought I'm a real pedophile. So around that time, around Dateline NBC was going to premiere their Catch a Predator show, right? I kept getting calls from little girls, man. It was like 1 year before the show aired, before they introduced it on NBC. One year, exactly 1 year before the show aired, I started getting calls every night, every day from little girls, like, and then the little girl always say, "Oh, I'm 13 year old. I'm 13," and she got friends. She has a friend with her. It's like two girls on the phone talking to me. They call me like five, 6 times a day, man. They call me like 2 o'clock early in the morning. I'm that like 2 o'clock in the midnight, right? They wake me up from my bed. That time, see, most people they don't use email to place order. They don't. They back in the days, there's no PayPal, No, there were PayPal, but back in the days I was using credit card merchant account. So most of the orders are either from online and through telephone. I have to take down credit card numbers. Back in the days it was like that. So I have to have my phone. Right now I don't speak on the phone anymore. People just place order online. But back in the days I have to speak on the phone every day. And then they kept calling me, man. They use block numbers, so I cannot really see who's calling. And they would call me. I pick up a phone, and it would be the little girl, 13 year old. And this funny thing is, they always say they're 13, always 13 year old, always 13 year old. And I'm very smart about it. I just felt that there's something wrong. And they call me. First of all, I'm Asian. I'm an Asian man, right? And the girl is obviously a white girl, right? And she said, "Oh, I saw your photo online. You're so handsome." I'm thinking, what's the chance of a white girl, white little girl falling in love with an Asian man? That's very rare, very, very rare. Especially she knows who I am. I'm 30 year old. What's the chance of a 13 year old girl, white girl falling in liking a 30-year-old Asian man? It's just very rare. So I'm like, oh, okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your compliment, right? And then it's just that the phone won't stop. And then they you know what they want? They want, oh, I want you to why don't you go online, sex chat, let's go to a chat room. I want you to, sex chat with me. And I say, oh no, chat rooms are for kids. I don't do that stuff. And then she's like, how about some phone sex? I want phone sex right now. I'm like, I say, aren't you like a little young? Like you're 13-year-old. Aren't you a little young for phone sex? It's like, I keep on giving them the runaround, like I don't fall for it. I keep on giving them the runaround. And then, I mean, but hey, you know what? I'm a lonely guy, so I'm it's kind of entertaining to talk to a little girl on the phone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't. I don't care if she's little or older. It's just sort of entertaining to talk to a girl on the phone, right? So I'm like, okay, I keep talking, but then I'm very careful though. I don't. It's like she kept on asking for sex chats or phone sex and shit like that. I never fall for it. I'm just like talking on the phone, just joking around. And then I would tease her. I would say, hey, listen, do you wanna know something personal? Can I ask you? Oh no, I said, can I ask you something personal? And she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Immediately, you can see her tone change, and I would say, how would you like to live forever? Then I start to sell my rings, and I say, oh, don't you want to live forever? You want to put on your rings, and hey, why don't you call your mom right now? Tell your mom to give you credit card numbers so you can buy a pair of rings. That was so funny. But then they won't stop. It's like for a whole year. Can you imagine? Whole year, every day. Call me at least 5, 6 times. I'm not joking. I told people that. Nobody believed me. These people call me 5, 6 times a day, man. I mean, sometimes 2 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, man, just to wake me up. These people are shady people, man. The perverted justice, they're doing this. They are doing all this. They hire young girls, right? They're not real 13-year-olds. I thought at that time, I thought it's a bunch of. I really thought it was a 13-year-old girl calling me because she sounds so young. Well, they have voice changers, right? I thought it was just teenagers trying to blackmail me. I know they want to lure me to some sex chat or phone sex or something. And if I start asking her personal questions like, "Oh, have you ever had sex?" or personal question, if I start asking that, then you know what? I'm on the hook. You know what I'm saying? They got me. Then I could be listed as a pedophile. They got me. You understand? I never fell for that. I never use the word like "oh baby" or "darling." I never ever. I'm very careful. I never use that. I would never say anything erotic. I would never ask her, "Oh, what like what's the size of your breast?" Or never ever. I was very careful. And then they sort of ran out of idea. They sort of ran out of option. And then guess what? They thought I'm gay. They started thinking, oh, maybe this Alex Chu guy, he's not interested in little girls, but then he called himself a pedophile. Maybe he's gay. You know what? And then they changed tactic. And then suddenly I get young boys calling me. Young boys like, oh hey, hey Alex, yeah, I'm again. The boy is like what, 13 or 14. I think the boy said he's 14. Alex, yeah, I'm 14-year-old kid and stuff like that, and talk to me. Yeah, sounds like a young boy, talking to me. But then it's like they don't talk about my rings. They just talk. They want to talk about again. They want to lure me to some chat room about sex chat or phone sex or something. That I see red flags. Because usually young boys call me, like high school kids call me. They usually just want to ridicule me. They want to talk shit about my rings. They want to insult me. They want to say stuff like your inventions don't work. You're a crazy person. You're a nut job. Go back to China and stuff like that. They would insult me. They would argue with me about my invention. But then these boys, they don't care about my invention. It's like they know who I am. They know that I'm selling. They know alexchu.com. But then they don't want to argue about my invention. It's like they jump into the sexing right away. Like, oh, I want you come to a sex chat or phone sex or something. I'm like, dude, you think I'm Michael Jackson and shit? You think I'm Michael Jackson? What's wrong with you? And then they realize, oh, Alex Chu is not gay. He's not gay. And then they change tactic. And then again, it's like always young boys calling me, right? Young boys, hello. And then the young boy will say, hey, my sister want to speak to you. And then they switch to the girls again. And then the girl's like, again, she's 13-year old. I'm like, what the fuck? And they do this every day, man. It's like they do this like, hey, sometimes 10 times, they call me 10 times a day. I told people that. Nobody believed me. These motherfuckers, they are so persistent. Sometimes they call me 10 times a day, just to get me hooked. Later on, I heard that Dateline NBC pay perverted justice like $100,000 per episode or something. Or is it per sting operation? Yeah, maybe $100,000 per episode. So they get paid lots of money. So they want people like me on the show. Because that time I was a little sort of notorious. I was sort of famous. I was on different TV shows, you understand? They try to get me. And then they switch tactic, and so it's a young boy calling me, 14-year-old young boy calling me, hey, Alex, my sister wants to speak to you. And then immediately switch to girls again. I must admit, I enjoy speaking to the girls a little more because I'm not gay, you understand? Speaking to boys is sort of weird. But then at the end, I just got tired of it. And at the end, I started to hang them up. I start to hang up. Because I'm like, dude, what the fuck? It's like, hey, I don't care if you're a little girl or a little boy. You want to buy my shit or not? You don't you want to buy my rings? You don't want to buy my rings? Then leave me the fuck alone. Why are you guys calling me? They call me like fucking 5-6 times a day, man. Wake me up at night. 2 o'clock. I was sleeping and shit. But then and suddenly, guess what? They stopped calling, right? And then guess what? Wow! I saw Dateline NBC Catch a Predator. It aired. And it was a hit. Everybody's watching that show. Everybody was watching that show, man. When I saw that shit air, I'm like, oh, so this is what's all about. Oh, I see. They've been calling me for one whole year. It's about this. It's about this Catch a Predator thing. Oh. So now you guys know exactly what these people went through. These people, I'm telling you, man. NBC, they Catch a Predator, they are shady people. They target the lonely men. They target lonely men like me. Lonely and well, they target me because they thought I'm a pedophile because I was using that in my gig. I try to be a comedian. I try to sell my rings. As a comedian, try to be funny, and then they thought I'm a real pedophile. But then I don't know how they catch these other men. These other men are, obviously they're real pedophile. But I bet you, man, these men, I bet you these little girls or little boys, they contact these men like day and night. I bet you, email them, giving them a phone call, and then try to lure them into. If they say something, I bet you it's like that. If I say something like, "Oh baby," "Oh darling," or "Have you ever had sex?" or something, if I guarantee you, if I said something like that, I was hooked, and then they're gonna use that against me. They're gonna use that to blackmail me. They're gonna if I stop, stop answering their phone call, the next phone call would say, "Oh, Mr. Chu, you asked me what is my breast size. I think I'm gonna tell my mom. I think I'm gonna tell my mom what you said because that's inappropriate." I guarantee it was like that, man. Then I would say, "No, no, no, no! Please don't tell your mom. Please don't tell your mom." And then she would say, "Okay, okay, I'm not gonna tell my mom, but I want you to come to a sex chat. I want you to come to the sex chat room with me and do a little sex chat or something because I'm horny." Yeah, I guarantee you it's like that, man. And then I don't have any other choice. I have to go do the sex chat, and then it get me more and more in trouble. One person died from this, man. He was like a prosecutor in Texas, right? And I think that's what happened to him. Some little boy called him, right? Like a 14-year-old boy called him, and then he fell for it. I bet you he asked the little boy like, "Oh, what's your penis size or something, or have you ever had sex or something?" And then he just you understand? It's just that. But then one day he hang up the phone. He also became very suspicious. He hang up the phone, and guess what? They still came after him. The police surrounded his house, and then he just shot himself. He shot himself in the mouth. He committed suicide. Yeah, and then of course his sister sued Dateline NBC for like $100 million. But I was lucky, man. I was lucky because I felt that something is not right. I felt at first I thought these teenagers are trying to blackmail me. Because I'm doing business online, right? I thought it was teenagers trying to blackmail me for money, or just trying to get me in trouble, or there's just some sort of prank trying to get me in trouble. That's what I thought. But now I realize, oh, it's Dateline NBC catching how to catch a predator. They never got me, and guess what? They called me for 1 whole year, 5 times a day. Okay, they never got me at the end. I told people that, nobody believed me. They said, "Oh, come on, how can they call you 10 times a day or 5 times a day?" But it's true. It was true, man. Those motherfuckers, they bothered me for they bothered me for a whole year, man. Shit, if I have evidence, man, I'm gonna sue them, man. I'm gonna sue them for $1 million, man. My whole year, they bothered me like that. But yeah, this episode, that's all I wanna. Sorry, that's all I wanna talk about. If you like my channel, please subscribe. Talk to you later.